What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector, and I'm your host, the Bearded One, bringing you bottom tier opinions from bottom tier wrestling fan. WrestleMania 4. First off, let's do some house cleaning before we get into WrestleMania 4. Somehow, some way, matches 10 through like 15, the notes got lost. So, luckily for you, I won't be droning on and on and on and on about 16 matches. I will briefly cover who fought, and maybe if I saw it, if I remembered anything, I'll bring it up. But 10 through the semi-final match, lost the notes, don't have notes on them. And for those of you new to the series, channel's been growing. This is a very long, opinionated review series where I review WrestleMania. I go over every match. I talk about the arena, the introduction part of WrestleMania, because I'm watching the whole WrestleMania on Peacock. And this is all an effort to learn more about wrestling history and to watch WrestleManias, because up until February, I had never seen a full WrestleMania from start to finish, and now I have 4 WrestleManias in the tank. So let's get into what I thought about this one. WrestleMania 4 Trump Plaza, Atlantic City, I believe is where Trump Plaza used to be at, or is currently still at. I'm not sure if it's still there. Less of a spectacle. Nothing compares to the Silverdome, in my opinion. Maybe in the future, when we get out of the 80s and into the 90s, you know, maybe when WWF has a lot more money, maybe the arenas get bigger, but Trump Plaza definitely feels like a step down. Don't know why they chose Trump Plaza. Maybe Donald Trump paid Vince McMahon that much money, or maybe there were technical issues they didn't want to have to deal with. At WrestleMania 4, who knows? WrestleMania 3 felt like a Super Bowl, and WrestleMania 4 just feels like a wrestling pay-per-view. Yeah, I would have to agree. There were some shots where they would get closer to the arena, and I could see like upper deck seating that it just reminded me of the Von Braun Civic Center in Huntsville, Alabama. It felt like a farm hockey league team's arena or something. Just a lot smaller. Gladys Knight sung a fantastic rendition of America the Beautiful. Probably my favorite version of America the Beautiful. Just didn't feel as grand as the Aretha Franklin on the piano version at WrestleMania 3. There wasn't a lot of pomp and circumstance for this one. They got down to business immediately. Seemed like as soon as Gladys Knight was walking off the stage, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, the Hart Foundation, were coming out to kick off the Invitational Battle Royal. No special entrances for the entrance. This was different from WrestleMania 2. In WrestleMania 2, they actually had a special guest announcer announce all the players one by one. Or I say players, all the wrestlers one by one. I noticed Bret Hart was soaking wet with baby oil. He just was dripping with that stuff, and I would have hated. I remember watching Bret and just thinking, you know, it's got to be disgusting to like grab a hold of that man and just feel all the slime and grease and oil on his body. It was just incredible how like wet he was. I mean, he looked like he stepped out of a shower. Bad gimmicks galore in this one. So, you know, the Killer Bees are back. Ken Patera looks a little ridiculous. Bottom tier, not me. Bottom tier cowboy gimmick, not Cowboy Bob Orton, somebody else. And he came complete with a bullwhip. Some other wannabe cowboy gimmick named Sam Houston. I don't know. I think they were just putting bodies in this battle royal. Sam Houston was gone first. Glad to see him gone early. Glad to see the Killer Bees eliminated early. Sad to see Jim Neidhart and one of the Rougeau brothers gone early. Harley Race gave a great exit flipping over the top ropes. Apparently that's like as I'm learning Harley Race and his time in the WWF, I'm learning that he did a lot of that, the extravagant, over the top, like flipping over the ropes and that sort of thing. Something we will see in the future from Ric Flair. Let's see. Oh yeah, JYD caught Harley Race on the chin, so he caught him, and then Harley Race flipped over the rope out of the ring. Pretty entertaining. I like the match shaping out to be a Junkyard Dog finding himself against Bret Hart and Bad News Brown. And then you have Bret Hart and Bad News Brown coming to an agreement that they're going to team up on each other. And then Bad News Brown turns on Bret Hart to win the Royal Rumble. Bret Hart stupidly thought he was going to be able to split the trophy with Bad News Brown and just call it a day after they got rid of Junkyard Dog. However, never trust a heel, even if you're a heel yourself. And Bad News Brown eliminated Bret Hart, and this is something I'm not used to seeing from Bret Hart. He destroys the Battle Royal trophy and just goes on a tirade. And again, a lot of my exposure from Bret Hart prior to February, just 2 months ago, is Bret Hart in the 90s, in the Attitude Era, when he's incredibly gentle babyface. I'm not used to seeing, and it works. Heel Bret Hart works, and he never should turn face, in my opinion. So let's move on to match 2. We have Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Ted DiBiase with Andre the Giant. Jim Duggan doing a lot of high-impact stuff and reaching for crowd pop. So Jim Duggan kind of set the tone of the match, and DiBiase was able to slow it down towards the middle of the match and kind of quieten the crowd down. And he started mounting an offense. Something cut DiBiase. I don't know what cut him, but I noticed a cut on his side. And then the finish was pretty weak. DiBiase didn't earn the pinfall on a falling head punch. I know that's like a signature DiBiase move, that falling head punch, but I think it's a stupid, gimmicky move. And the dirty move by Andre to stop Duggan hitting his finisher was a good spot. I liked that. So the setup for Duggan was nice, but then DiBiase just claiming the win off a head punch. I don't know. Didn't like it. Weak finish. Then we have Dino Bravo versus The Rock Morocco. This is one of the better matches of WrestleMania 4. Believe it or not, two guys that don't have a lot of clout, a lot of heat with the fans. When you think about the greatest wrestlers of all time, you don't ever really think of Dino Bravo and Don The Rock Morocco. But nevertheless, I was impressed. Solid start to the match. Don Morocco. This is the best I've ever seen Don Morocco. My only exposure again to Don Morocco is what he's been in WrestleMania. But he looks great. Him teaming up with Billy Graham seemed to be a good move for him. It kind of lifted him up from being, a bottom-level wrestler to somebody with a little heat, maybe somebody that could contend for an Intercontinental Championship. He fights DiBiase in Saturday night's main event after WrestleMania 4 for the #1 contender spot to fight Macho Man Randy Savage for the title. So a lot going on for Morocco at this point in his career. Bravo showed off his move diversity. There was continuity. Bravo hurt his knee, and Morocco attacked the knee. I like seeing the continuity. I don't like seeing wrestlers hurt a body part and then, just in the blink of an eye, it's no longer, it's instantaneously healed. I can suspend my disbelief that over the course of the match, you're not going to continue that continuity, but at least for a little bit, make me believe you actually hurt that body part. So I appreciated the continuity there. There's a double clothesline spot. I liked that. And then Bravo capitalized on Morocco coming to the ref's aid after he knocked him out. So Morocco at some point knocked out the ref, and he went to, went to help the ref recover. Bravo capitalizes. and gets the win. And that's it for match 3. Moving on to match 4. We have Greg Valentine versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ricky looks great once again. And I was excited for this match. This match was pretty awesome. Seeing different moves from Ricky. Nice inverted atomic drop from Valentine to get Ricky out of his arm hold. So Ricky has a wrist hold or an arm hold on Valentine, and Valentine's able to reverse that into an atomic drop. It was very, very cool spot. The Valentine kept karate chopping Steamboat over and over and over again in the match, kind of giving Steamboat a taste of his own medicine, because that's a calling card of Steamboat is karate chopping people. Valentine falling on Steamboat after whiffing a slam for the pin is another great spot. I really liked that. Real shoot chops. Oh yeah, there was a point where Valentine and Steamboat appeared a little frustrated with each other. Now, I don't know if this was just the heat of the moment. I don't know if it was all just for show and that it really wasn't shooting and neither guy was frustrated with each other. I'm not really sure what was going on. Maybe they were just in the heat of the moment of the match and the adrenaline was taking over. But they were straight up like chopping the ever-living snot out of each other. And it was like jarring to watch it. Every single chop. Ricky tossed the ref aside. Not used to seeing Ricky do heel-like things. Not used to seeing Ricky get frustrated. Because he's such an incredible wrestler. Why would he ever get frustrated? And then Ricky crossbodied Valentine. Greg Valentine, a great match. So I wrote here that Steamboat beat Greg Valentine, but I'm pretty sure Greg Valentine is who advances in the tournament. And I'd like to take a second to say, I thought, I couldn't remember every match because I didn't watch this all in a 3-hour spurt. And then, you know, because I watched the first half of WrestleMania 4 probably 2 weeks ago. So it's not exactly fresh on my mind, but I just seem to remember thinking not every wrestler that won in this tournament advanced. It's just kind of odd. But anyways, we go on to match 5 with Butch Reed. Of course, he's got Slick out there. I can't stand Slick. Irritating manager. Versus Macho Man Randy Savage with, of course, the First Lady of Wrestling. Goosebumps hearing that theme. As soon as I heard Macho Man, just goosebumps. And Reed looked good and powerful, taking over the match early on. The match was short. A lot of these matches were short. But Macho Man took advantage of a distracted Butch Reed to throw him over the turnbuckle and quickly used that moment to hit the elbow drop for the win. And we're on to match 7. Or match 6. But speaking of match 5, before we move on. Just a short match, not much to say about it. Just glad to see Macho Man get the win. Match 6, we got One Man Gang with Slick again. This guy's all over the place. Very irritating manager. Versus Bam Bam Bigelow. And I wrote, this is a Southern Rednecks wrestling dream. It really was. You got this gap tooth Bam Bam Bigelow, which Bam Bam Bigelow has a special place in this area of the country's heart. I remember kids in my class being such a big fan of Bam Bam Bigelow. And, you know, and then you got One Man Gang coming out of this big, burly guy with this unkempt beard and this rat tail mohawk. It just screams like Southern wrestling from like the 70s, like very old, very redneck, very just the roots of where I come from. It was hilarious to kind of come to that realization of what I was seeing take place. Surprised at how much bigger than Bam Bam Bigelow One Man Gang is. Bam Bam Bigelow's a big dude. And to see One Man Gang kind of tower over Bam Bam Bigelow was kind of surprising. There were spots where Bam Bam Bigelow was doing cartwheels. Very interesting, very weird to say the least. You know, you got this big tattooed biker gang looking dude in a flamed jumpsuit doing cartwheels. It's odd, to say the least. It's a short match, the bogus count-out finish. But I wrote, I'm not mad. It ended quick. I just wasn't that excited about the match. Keeping it moving, match 7, Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan versus Jake the Snake. Seeing some wrestling with a gruesome wrist lock from Jake the Snake on Rick Rude. So, what I noticed here, and when I said seeing some wrestling, I actually was seeing actual wrestling moves. It seemed like Jake the Snake actually wanted to work the mat. In WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 3, I'm just seeing the bar fight guy that brings out the snake. You're going to bash a beer bottle over your head and stomp a mud hole into you and win the match that way. But here in WrestleMania 4, I'm actually seeing Jake the Snake work the mat. Maybe he's had some more training since WrestleMania 3, or maybe that's just how the match flowed. That's what he wanted to do for this match, and he was already a decent wrestler. I don't know the case. There was a gruesome wrist lock on Rick Rude. They did a good job of drawing heat from the crowd. I thought for this to be the last match of the first round and kind of nearly the midway point of WrestleMania 4. They did a really good job of bringing the energy out of the crowd and getting some heat. I keep just waiting for Jake the Snake to mount an offense, taking all these holds. So, excuse me reading that for verbatim, but Jake the Snake was just getting dominated, and Rick Rude really slowed down the match. It was just holding him over and over and over, and you just kept waiting for the comeback. The standing up, shaking the arm, doing a elbow punch to the gut kind of thing. It never came. Jake the Snake did a great job getting the crowd behind him, and then he did a belly breaker. I call it a belly breaker. He just brought his belly down on Rick Rude's, or on Jake the Snake's knee. And there was a double elimination, being a heel-on-heel match. It was a great match. So, Jake the Snake and Rick Rude. Sorry, brain fart. Pretty solid match. It's at the point where we're really dug into WrestleMania 4, and the momentum's kind of slowing down a little bit. It was really good to see Rick Rude and Jake the Snake kind of lift the crowd back up, and it kind of got me back into the pay-per-view as well. So hats off to them. And for a fight that didn't have a clear winner, pretty nice to see that they were able to make that work. Next up in match 8, we got Ultimate Warrior versus Hercules Hernandez. Bar fight type of match, a lot of punching, a lot of power moves, just two strongman type wrestlers just having it out for each other. And I also think there was a feud that played into this. So that's probably part of the reason they weren't wrestling. They were just trying to beat the snot out of each other because of that storyline. The setup, there was a setup where I think Heenan starts distracting Ultimate Warrior, and Hercules hits Warrior into the turnbuckle. He hits the turnbuckle and falls back into a full Nelson put onto him by Hercules Hernandez. The finish was cool. Warrior kicking off the turnbuckle while... Okay. I remember this. So the Warrior is in the full Nelson lock, and he's like... I think he's brought down to... Or no. He's not brought down to the mat. I'm trying to remember this in real time. No, he's in the full Nelson lock, and he's slowing down, starting to slump, and then while in the full Nelson lock, he walks over to the turnbuckle and kicks back off of it, which then has Ultimate Warrior kind of slamming Hercules Hernandez onto the mat. And then there was an odd victory here. It looked like Hercules Hernandez had Ultimate Warrior in the pin, and even the announcer was saying maybe Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body had it wrong. Maybe they were not reading their scripts right or something. But it appeared to me Hercules Hernandez was the one that had Ultimate Warrior in a pin, and then came out of the... Even Ultimate Warrior, I think, kicked out of it. And then the bell rang, and they awarded Ultimate Warrior the victory. I am confused. I was a little confused with that match. But it was a solid match. If I was to rank this match with the rest of WrestleMania, I'd say one of the better matches. Not the best, but one of the better matches. I liked Hernandez and Ultimate Warrior. Match 9, Andre the Giant with Ted DiBiase and Virgil. So the whole, Ted DiBiase gang is coming out to fight Hulk Hogan. Most I've seen from Andre in a wrestling match, and I wanted... This is the match. Like, the vibe I got from Andre, the energy we got from Andre, the aggression we got from Andre, that's what I wanted in WrestleMania 3. If you see my WrestleMania 3 review, I just talked about how I didn't want it to be David versus Goliath. I wanted it to be two of wrestling's biggest personalities, biggest gimmicks in a ring, giving it everything they got. Both guys beating the crap out of each other. Both guys getting time on offense. And in WrestleMania 3, it was very slow, methodical. It was Andre dominating Hogan, and I didn't like that for a WrestleMania main event. A slow, low-energy match. But here on WrestleMania 4 was the match I wanted. Granted, could have gone longer. I would have definitely wanted this match to be longer in WrestleMania 3 had it been the style match in WrestleMania 3. But saw a lot more nastiness from Andre the Giant. Liked it. And it felt like both guys were really hammering into each other. And I really liked that. That was a really nice match here. Very fast-paced. For Andre the Giant to have such a fast-paced match is incredible, considering his health at this point in his life. Good spot to have Hogan rip the shirt and work the crowd while Andre was... he was hung up in the ropes. I wrote that up. I misspelled that. Andre was hung up in the ropes. So while Andre's hung up, Hogan takes time to rip the shirt off. Because the match started so quick, Hogan didn't have time to rip his shirt off. And midway through the match, Hogan finally got a chance to rip the shirt off. The match's energy should have been what we got in WrestleMania 3. Covered that. We'll keep it moving. The finish is bad for the tournament, but great for the wrestlers and fans. So there's a chair spot where I think Ted DiBiase brings a chair in, and Hogan and Andre start slinging on each other with a chair, and it ends in a double disqualification. And I think it was great as far as the storyline, as far as what affects Hogan and Andre and their personal vendetta against each other. I liked it. But as far as the way it works for WrestleMania 4, and you don't have Andre or Hogan in this tournament anymore, both of them have been eliminated, I don't think it made for the best tournament at WrestleMania 4. Probably should have had... I don't know, we'll cover some thoughts about the tournament at the end. Match 10, we have Ted DiBiase versus Don Morocco. Don't have notes here. They got deleted. I'm just, again, impressed with Don Morocco. If we're going by, if the best wrestler in a match should win the match, Don Morocco should have won that match. But for those of you who've seen WrestleMania 4, you know what's coming. And you know why. You know why Ted DiBiase beat Don Morocco. Match 11, we had Macho Man versus Greg Valentine. Really great wrestling. Valentine, the Hammer, is a quality wrestler. He knows his style. He knows his moveset. He knows how to work it. There were some times I remember he kind of oversold a couple moves, and it just felt a little too goofy for me. A little too oversold. But other than that, great quality match, I remember. It just seemed like a match where Macho just couldn't put Valentine away fast enough. You were kind of worried for Macho Man. In match 12, we have Beefcake versus Honky Tonk Man. The notes I have here are based off of, I'm following the Mega Power storyline from WrestleMania 4 to WrestleMania 5 off camera. And so I got to see a recap of this match in Saturday night's main event. So I wrote notes based off that since I lost my notes originally. I just wrote it was an Intercontinental Championship match. I remember it being a very goofy match. And I liked Beefcake cutting Jimmy Hart's mullet. So those are the highlights of match 12. I think Beefcake wins. No. Honky Tonk. Beefcake got disqualified, I think. And Honky Tonk Man got out of the ring with his belt. I think that's how it ended up. Match 13, we had British Bulldogs with Coco Beware versus the Islanders with Bobby the Brain Heenan. I don't have any notes, but I do remember I was impressed with Coco Beware. He had this he had a headlock that he was hoisted up by the Islanders, and he had one of them in a headlock and the other one in a head scissor hold, and then did a roll and flipped them both out. Very impressed with that move, Coco Beware. Rising up my ranks of favorite wrestlers. I like Coco Beware. He's a spunky guy. I would have liked to see him have an Intercontinental Championship run or something. British Bulldogs, great to see the ring once again. Didn't care for Bobby the Brain Heenan, but I was surprised that he held his own. He knew when to get into the ring. He's very smart with his ring presence, and he would stomp the wrestlers out and then quickly get out because it's Bobby the Brain Heenan. He ain't gonna fight nobody. That's about it for that match. That's all I remember from that match, and we'll keep it moving. On to match 14, Macho Man versus One Man Gang. Very short match. It ended up being One Man Gang dominating Macho Man, but getting caught hitting Macho Man with Slickster's cane. So One Man Gang gets eliminated to the benefit of Macho Man, and Macho Man progresses to the finals to fight Ted DiBiase. And to give Macho Man time to rest and change, we had match 15, Demolition versus Strike Force. A lot of creative wrestling I saw from Strike Force. Very impressed with Rick Martel and Tito Santana. Still think Tito Santana comes off as a wannabe, but I think the Strike Force tag team works for Tito and Rick Martel, and they had something there for a little bit. They reversed Demolition, and there were several times where Demolition would try to mount an offense, and Strike Force would reverse them and get back on offense. Rick Martel, I was very impressed with his execution. Even with just a simple hip toss, it looked really good. Rick Martel's a good wrestler, and I've heard his name tossed around before. I think I've seen a New Japan match with him and Ric Flair tag teaming against some Japan wrestlers. I like Rick Martel. Good dude. I like the move choices from Demolition that they add to. It got a very bruising style, and they stick to it, and it adds to their scary, brutish gimmicks. Real nice flying elbow from Chico. Hadn't seen that in a while, but yeah, Tito pops that flying elbow from time to time. It's really nice to see Tito pop it because he's really good at executing it. I know I'm stretching on the couch when you hear that. I liked the dirty finish. Felt like the match was hashed out. So sometimes a dirty finish feels incomplete. Doesn't feel earned. It feels like a momentum-killing finish. For me, I don't hate dirty finishes, but it felt like the match had been worked out. I'd seen everything I needed to see in the match. They'd been in the ring long enough. And so a dirty finish, and then it made sense. You really could start to feel, because I think it was Rick Martel had one of Demolition in a Boston Crab. It just really felt like Demolition couldn't do anything to win the match at this point. The Strike Force had it locked up. And one of the members of Demolition hits Martel with a cane, and so the one in the Boston Crab gets out of the Boston Crab and pins it for the win. And I liked it. It felt earned. It felt organic. I felt like the match had come to a point where we needed to see the finish, and we got one. So whatever finish was going to happen, I liked it. I would have liked it. And then we come to match 16, Macho Man versus Ted DiBiase. Great headlock and wrist lock reversals from Macho Man. Macho Man was on his stuff in this match. I liked seeing Andre. There was a point where Andre would cheat. Macho Man would try to run off the ropes and hit DiBiase. And Andre would casually grab his leg. I liked that. It sets up Macho Man for having to overcome another obstacle to surpass DiBiase. DiBiase is putting all these obstacles in his way. And Macho Man's got to overcome 3 matches. He's got to overcome the beating from One Man Gang. And now he's got to overcome Andre the Giant to beat DiBiase clean for the title. I liked that. It was putting Macho Man through the gauntlet. It's a sweet over-the-rope clothesline from Macho Man. So I noticed a move he's incorporated. I didn't see it in WrestleMania 3. But I saw it one other time in this. I think he did it to One Man Gang in WrestleMania 4. But he'll jump over the ropes and go all the way to the floor while holding on to the head of his opponent. And like it's called a clothesline, I guess. But their neck gets slammed into the ropes. And pretty cool move. Macho Man sending Elizabeth to go get Hogan. I liked that. That was a cool moment. Because it evens the odds with Andre cheating. Good wrestling from DiBiase. I liked the gut wrench suplex, and I didn't know that name prior to the wrestling match. I'm taking gotta pay credit to Gorilla Monsoon for teaching me that move. Is called the gut wrench suplex. Multiple slams over and over. Hogan chair-shotting DiBiase towards the end to rob him of his title victory. I liked it. Again, I think I come across as somebody that doesn't like dirty finishes, but I like it here. It makes sense with the storyline of DiBiase working the tournament into his favor, because by this point we know that Hogan was eliminated on purpose. Andre was paid to disqualify himself and Hogan at the same time, so Hogan getting revenge and chair-shotting DiBiase. It was really nice, really cool to see Hogan get the revenge on DiBiase. And that sets up Macho Man for the greatest elbow drop of all time. I loved seeing Macho Man hit that. Love seeing Macho Man hit that elbow drop. And then I wrote, incredible to see Macho Man wrestle 4 times and end with the only full match of WrestleMania 4. So we'll go into the awards, and then after the awards, I'll give my closing thoughts. The best promo has to go to Hulk Hogan, talking about slamming Andre the Giant through the Trump Plaza and the fault line from New York to Tampa falling away, and Andre the Giant falling into the ocean, and everybody in the audience is going to fall into the ocean except Donald Trump, who's going to be hanging on to the rafters. And then Hogan says, thank God Donald Trump is a Hulkamaniac, because he's going to have the wherewithal to hold on to his family and swim to safety. And Hogan then says, and all the Hulkamaniacs, if they run out of gas, just hold on to the biggest back in professional wrestling, and I'll backstroke us all to victory. Very over-the-top promo. This got to be, to date, my favorite Hulk Hogan promo. Incredible. And if you want to see the promo, just go over to my community tab on my channel's page. And I posted the Hogan promo. Very, very, very hilarious promo. I was literally brought to tears with how ridiculous Hogan was in that promo. The best wrestler, I gotta give Macho Man best wrestler. Macho Man was just incredible. He didn't fight One Man Gang. He didn't necessarily fight Butch Reed, but his match with DiBiase and Greg Valentine were really impressive. And for him to put on 4 freaking matches and then have the most complete match of the entire pay-per-view at the end, it's just incredible. You got to pay respect to Macho Man. My favorite wrestler was Macho Man, for sure. Favorite and best wrestler just goes to Macho Man for that reason. Because usually, those of you new to me reviewing this, I tend to separate my favorite wrestler from my best wrestler. Best wrestler, I tend to go towards who showed off the most move diversity, who had the cleanest execution, and I just feel like a best and favorite wrestler has to go to Macho. This is peak Macho Man Randy Savage right here. One of the greatest wrestling feats of all time. 4 matches in one single event. It's incredible. The best match, I would say, I liked Warrior and Hercules Hernandez. I liked Greg Valentine and Ricky Steamboat. I liked Greg Valentine and Macho Man. But none of these matches to the detriment of, the pay-per-view. None of these matches had time to be fleshed out and really come to a full conclusion, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so I have to give the main event the best match. And I hate to be so on one wrestler and on one match. But it's just hard to deny how good the title match was. Is it one of the greatest matches of all time? I don't know if it would be in my top 50. I'm just not overly impressed with Ted DiBiase as a wrestler. He's not an intimidating looking person. I don't think his wrestling is all that creative or impressive to me. Not that he's a bad wrestler or anything. I think his gimmick was fine and good for him for having his moment in the sun in the late 80s. But, still, even though I feel that certain way about DiBiase, even though it's not like a top 10, top 5 match of all time, still liked the match, comparative to the rest of the pay-per-view. Best spot, I'd have to say, there's a couple cool spots. You got that reversal on Greg Valentine reversing Steamboat into the atomic drop. Macho Man doing the over the rope clothesline. Like seeing that. Coco Beware's headlock, scissor kick move thing. That was a cool spot. But I think I'm going to have to go with the chair shot, the double elimination. That was cool. With Andre and Hogan, I thought it played well for the characters and it kept the rivalry alive. And I think it's an important moment in the rivalry between Andre and Hogan and Ted DiBiase itself. For the impact of that spot, I'm going to have to give it to the Hogan and Andre double eliminating each other with the chairs. And then closing thoughts. This video went much faster than the rest of them because the pay-per-view, it just was match after match after match after match. And I hate to say this because over at David's Comics and Wrestling, it's not a shot at you. I know you love WrestleMania 4. You're entitled to your opinion, and I respect your opinion. WrestleMania 4 is not for me. In terms of, where I would rank it, in terms of loving the pay-per-view, it was just really, really, really long. WrestleMania 4 was so long. And there were some continuity mishaps. I'm not sure if every I'm not sure if every singles match was a part of the tournament, but I feel like it was. I'm pretty sure Steamboat beats Greg Valentine, and Greg Valentine advances. So that's odd. Maybe I'm not remembering it right. Put it in the comments. did Valentine beat Steamboat? Because I'm pretty sure Steamboat wins. I'm pretty sure Steamboat hits him with the crossbody and pins him for the 1, 2, 3. And then it's Greg Valentine we see fighting Macho Man. So big continuity mishap right there. Maybe Steamboat got hurt and couldn't fight. Maybe there's some backstage, technical issues going on that we don't know about, and maybe that's why Valentine advanced. Didn't like that, and I don't like Ultimate Warrior beating Hercules Hernandez, and then neither guy goes. So you have the wrong guy advancing in the Steamboat Valentine match, and then there's not a double disqualification. There's only 2 double disqualifications in the whole tournament. Warrior and Hercules Hernandez. I believe they were in the tournament, and neither guy advanced. And then also the finish was weird. It was a kick-out finish. Ultimate Warrior raised his shoulder, and then he wins the match. I was confused. I didn't understand that. And then another thing I was confused about. Hogan loses to Andre, double disqualification, and he's showboating in the ring. He's shooting a crab and all that stuff, and the crowd's going wild, and it's like Jesse the Body Ventura comments on it. What is going on? Like, you're wasting time, pretty much. You didn't win the match. Why are you here? Leave. But I know it's Hogan, and everybody loves Hogan, so that's that on Hogan. I don't like the fact that the tournament didn't feel organic. I don't like that it was this grand master plan of Ted DiBiase to get the title. I think you should have had this tournament at SummerSlam. I think, because King of the Ring comes later this year, you should have had this tournament at King of the Ring. So maybe, if you're going to do a tournament at WrestleMania for the title, I think you'd want your best wrestlers, the wrestlers with the biggest heat in the tournament. And I understand you want to put guys over, but I think at a WrestleMania tournament, you should have had Junkyard Dog in this tournament. You should have had Ultimate Warrior advance. I don't know what was going on with that. Should have had a winner with Andre and Hogan. It just makes it kind of cheapens what Macho Man did, because he didn't have to come across Hogan or Andre. He didn't have to come across Jake the Snake or Rick Rude. And he didn't have to come across Ultimate Warrior or Hercules Hernandez. So, in a way, having this overarching plot, this master plan of Ted DiBiase rigging the tournament, kind of hurts Macho Man, even though it's an incredible feat to wrestle 4 matches. And I feel like it hurts Macho Man at the same time. Because, and I feel like DiBiase may or may not be bitter about this, but he's not the most impressive looking guy out there. I mean, as short and as small as Macho Man is compared to the rest of the roster, Macho Man's still got a great physique and a great moveset. And DiBiase is just a punk. And I think you could have had this entire thing, this entire storyline at WrestleMania, work at King of the Ring and do something else for WrestleMania 4. Just in my opinion. I don't know. WrestleMania 4 just doesn't work for me. And I would have to say it's going to be down there towards the bottom. After we do the first 10 WrestleManias, probably going to rank WrestleMania 4 near the bottom. Just as a fanboy of Macho Man, I love it. I love what WrestleMania 4 did for Macho Man. It's a sweet moment seeing him give Elizabeth the title and then put her on his shoulders. And it's cool to see him and Hogan teaming up to defeat DiBiase and take away his shot at the title. But when I think about WrestleMania as a whole and comparing it to other WrestleManias, it's just a big misstep. It's very sloppy. And it wasn't executed very well. It wasn't booked very well. I just feel like they should have put more of the high-profile wrestlers into the tournament and not in the Battle Royal. My opinion, though, worst WrestleMania of all time? No, but we'll have to see where I put WrestleMania 4 when we do that ranking. That'll do me for this time, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. I didn't put any cut breaks in here. I'm just very rushed. Didn't put any editing in here. You'll have to forgive me. But thank you, as always, for liking, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, God bless you.